Hello everyone and welcome to another gaming discussion video. My name is Brian if you happen to be new around here, but I'm going to say this right at the start. I made a comment about my anti-Marxist ways that you can find out on Twitter if you want to follow me over there. And the response has just been insane. So many of you guys coming in with that anti-Marxist love in this case. And I have to say, I've found my people. All 66,192 of you at the time of this recording. Sometimes I misspeak, so I think anybody who's already been subbed will hopefully be cool with that. But guys, we got so much to talk about because obviously we're talking about the title of this video, the anti-Xbox kind of bias that appears throughout the media. And I've got some sources that I'd like to cite. I'd like to talk to you guys about why. But one of the things I want to say right at the start of this video is that when I was growing up, I once had a math teacher who said that his job was to teach me a little bit about math and a lot about life. And I ended up going on to major, can't speak. Obviously, mathematics is what I went to study, is what I'm trying to say, as opposed to English in the written word. And it's obviously because of his impact on my life through his education and his love of learning and his love of that. And that's essentially what I hope to bring into all of my videos. Not that I'm going to hit each and every one out of the park, but just as an aside to you guys, like, I hope that we get to have a little conversation about life and gaming and how these things are just, I think, a very beautiful thing to experience. And honestly, I always view gaming as kind of a miracle of our time. And anyway, that's just something that I like to share at the beginning of it. Let's dive in. I'm going to start with our community question. This is something that was posted on the last video. If you guys have questions, leave them in the comments below. It says, thanks for the work you put in. Definitely enjoying it. Quick question. What character build type are you looking to start with? And honestly, I replied to them directly, but to everybody, I cannot decide. Right now, I'm leaning between extrovert, free star settler, and the raised enlightened, because I think that just sounds interesting. But there's so many cool choices, and I'm going to just choose in the moment whenever the game goes live here at the the August the 31st at the specific time, or September 1st time zones, for wherever you are in the world. And I'd love to know your thoughts. So the community question to you is, what character build type are you thinking of going with? I'd love to read those comments. So let's dive into the main topic. I don't want to waste anybody's time. I do apologize for the longer than normal intro. We just had a lot to cover. This is essentially to talk about the nature or the title of this video. The answer is yes, there is an absolute internet bias, and I want to talk to you guys about why. Now let's bring up Peter. He rates this out on Twitter. Says IGN made a video about games coming for the rest of 2023. They left out Xbox as a platform for Alan Wake 2 Lies of P, even though it's coming to Xbox Game Pass day one, and Mortal Kombat 1. This is shameful. XQ, like that on my dyslexia, says this is a pretty crap and deceiving thing for IGN to do. Destin Legary, DMC Ryan, where are you at? And Destin chimes in. This is a mistake and it's being corrected. Let's be honest here. Like, mistakes can happen. Humans make mistakes, but repeated mistakes tend to kind of lean into not necessarily maliciousness, not anything wrong with like, oh, like IGN's like, how can we screw Microsoft who we end up giving tons of money to anyway, because that's the nature of our lives. Like, even selling a Sony PlayStation, like, Microsoft makes money. It's weird. Same vice versa with Blu-ray. Like, these companies are so interconnected, they quote unquote compete, but really at the end of the day, they're like, hey, we're all getting rich, right? Anyway, so mistakes happen, but then, IGN's also tweeting out some Starfield players can preload the game from tomorrow, August 17th. And this is humorous. Colt Eastwood writes, you can use the word Xbox. It's an Xbox game. It's also an Xbox exclusive. Some Xbox players can preload Starfield from tomorrow, August 17th. There, you get extra SEO, and the word Xbox is trending often. Kane Pro says, it is the little things they don't do. So I want to talk to you guys about my experience and why I feel this is the way that it is. Not that it should be like I'm trying to say, well, just get over it. Not at all. Like, it in and of itself is something that I felt like I've experienced for years, especially as somebody who likes the JRPG. I have felt like a fish out of water for so long, and I'm okay with that. I'm comfortable being kind of the weird guy who, talks about video games and has a YouTube channel about it because his wife is like, I like games too, Brian, but not as much as you, you know? And so I'm used to that, but I've always been and always felt like I'm in this fish out of water. And so it's always been this weird dichotomy of liking Xbox as a platform, but also loving Final Fantasy. And the two barely, like, sometimes they you know, will they, won't they? It's a whole sitcom of a problem with these games as a specific example. But underlying and under that tone, there's always been this anti-Xbox sentiment because of the games that I like. You could easily find yourself in an echo chamber within social media. So somebody could be listening to these words and they're like, nobody hates on Xbox. This is ridiculous, because all they hear is either Xbox praise or all they hear or whatever, you know, whatever their echo chamber is feeding them. But yes, and I think a lot of this is actually rooted in who we are as gamers and who, like, what gaming actually is to us. I look at gaming as a relationship, or at least a second cousin to a relationship. And I think that's a kind of an important distinction. You know, my gaming hobby is not my wife, and it isn't my kids. Those outrank gaming for me, like, hands down every which way. So if you guys hear the love that I have for gaming, note that love is, you know, almost infinitesimal. That's a word I'm making up, you know, for my family, right? But I still have this passion. But gaming does have this draw, this hook, and I've been hooked ever since I originally saw Super Mario Bros. 2 on an NES over my friend Chris's house, and he had a pool and he was cool, and I don't remember his name, and we haven't talked since we were in second grade, but I hope he's doing well out there. Chris, wherever you are in the world, I hope you're doing well. But on that aspect though, right, like, I've been hooked ever since. I went to go study game development and design at the University of North Texas. Absolutely loved gaming, still do to this day. I'm a hobbyist game developer. I've worked with other software engineers who also work in gaming at Gearbox and more. Like, gaming is awesome, and if I ever get the opportunity to finish my game for y'all, I can't wait for you to experience it and play it. But we'll talk about that if that ever comes to pass. But anyway, when I look at gaming as a relationship, like, when I understand people's defense and love and passion for this, like, it makes complete sense. It's that kind of that first relationship. You never forget your first kiss. You never forget, like, those first moments. And gaming, especially along the lines of PlayStation, is that for so many people. Back when gaming originally crashed out, I joined in as an 80s kid, right? Super Mario Bros. 2, the NES. This is all after the video game crash. And what happened was interesting. Video games went from being a computer, a family system, into a boy's toy. Nintendo single-handedly set back female engineers decades with this one choice, because then all of a sudden the languages that we all speak shift. For me, I was such a Nintendo fanboy, and I'm talking about embarrassingly Nintendo fanboy, like anti-Xbox, anti-PlayStation. Nintendo is Nintendo. They're the dominant. That's, you know, like, literally, that was me. Thank goodness I've grown out of that somewhat. We can probably cue me freaking out over Phil Spencer right about now and completely destroy all credit that I have. Anyhow, so that being said, is like, that's one of the things that kept me kind of really falling into the PlayStation trend. The reason why I've always had a PlayStation has always been for Final Fantasy. I follow the brand, the games that I play around. I've always been a gamer first, not a platform first kind of guy. And that's why, like, I love what Xbox is doing with Play Anywhere. Like, I'm going to continue to champion that. I think that is a really good thing for gamers, because I recognize that not everybody's as fortunate as me and has a wife that lets me have a video game budget, and we can go and buy the things that I want to buy, right? I got, you know, outside of the kids dropping the Nintendo Switches in the tub and breaking those, that's life, right? So not everybody is in my position and can afford these things, and so like that, but that's also my passion, and I don't watch sports on the weekends because I'm a gamer. Now, that is one of the things, that the relationship side of it. Then also, because of people and that attachment that they have, I think a natural bias ends up occurring. And I think I see this in a ton of, you know, quote unquote fanboys on both sides, right? Like, and so usually the thing I always ask is like, what was the first game that really hooked you? What was the first thing that really stuck with you? What was that experience? Because those experiences are happening all the time. And I think what we end up seeing is that because PlayStation dominated and still does, so much so that there's an inherent natural bias online to the platform, because people's experiences are so good and they're worth defending. They're worth telling people about the beauty of it. But as gamers, we're we're competitive to a degree, whether you want to be or admit it or not. We can end up being too harsh and too foul, but I find it personally very funny, right? Because for me, I find humor in everything, which makes me a great stand-up comic, but it also makes me a real bummer at parties, especially if we're talking about something serious. So I have to try and tone myself down from time to time. That all being said is that I'm not worried about it. I think there's a couple of things happening besides that. You obviously have SEO, which is search engine optimization. That's one aspect. You also have the incentive model. When it comes to these, and really, and not throwing shade at any YouTubers out there or any publications out there, they got to pay the bills, and they got to pay the bills by what they get clicks and how that all works together, right? It literally is all connected in my book. And so when it all is said and done, that is essentially what drives it. The only real way to kind of fix it is to, in a way, call it out, but call it out in a loving and honest way, saying this game's also on Xbox, and things like that. The best thing that we can do is tell people about the good things. And what I'm always going to advocate for is I want strong game publishers. I want a strong Sony, a strong Nintendo, a strong Microsoft, hell, even a strong Amazon in the space, because if they're competing for our time and our money, which is something that is limited, right? Not all of us are sitting here, absolutely loaded and strapped and have all kinds of free time. But if they're competing for that with us, then we're winning, right? Because then we have choices, we have options, and prices can come down and new experiences can be made. It's truly, I think, a marvelous experience. All right, I've rambled on long enough. The final thing is kind of a food for thought. This is something I like to toss up here at the end of this video for the true legends of you guys who are out there and just enjoying this content. And also, again, thank you so much for the like support on the last video. It's absolutely insanity. I'm going to keep these at the humble 200, like a 200 like goal. And thank you guys so much for that. I think that just feels like a right amount for these Starfield videos and discussion videos. But anyway, food for thought. Robert over on Twitter he puts this up. He says, "I love your videos, man. You make me question my own harsh words about games. Honestly, I've been disappointed, but I'm super, super picky. And yes, 100% 2023 has actually been a pretty solid year for games so far. It's got me looking up, but I'm still a harsh critic." So I want to talk about this briefly here at the end of this video. It's just kind of like a little bonus topic because you guys are awesome, and I hope you're enjoying the content. First and foremost, there's nothing wrong with being super, super picky. When it comes down to your time, money, and energy and stuff like that, be picky. That's why I want to advocate for options, so you can be picky. It would suck if there was only one channel to watch. If I was the only YouTuber out there, this would suck, right? Because clearly some of y'all, need something other than me in your feed, so go for it, right? So that is one aspect of it. So there's nothing wrong with being super, super picky. But one of the things I would like to, and what I actually replied to Robert about directly, and what I like to kind of just seed in your mind, we have to take care of our bodies, right? We got to take care of the physical world that we live in. Right now, we're having a digital experience that exists in an online space, which is not actually real. Reality, your physical body, and more are actually more important, especially when it comes down to your time. I do believe in a healthy body, healthy gamer, and even a healthy outlook, maybe even an optimistic outlook. Optimists, I always joke at the club, optimists get laid more. It's you got a lot of opportunities there. And that is one of the things that I think vitamin D has actually been huge for my mental health. And that's just because I'm apparently a vitamin deficient. But if you're not getting necessarily enough sun, enough physical exercise, that might just bleed into your mental outlook. And if you're just living in this chronic online world, it's very easy to get wrapped up into this hyper negativity that is just, it spreads like a virus, right? Because you're engineered to be on the alert for bad news, and negative news gets your attention. And we've designed a whole career for people off of attention, right? So all of these things are working against you, but you can break that habit. You can break kind of the influences that are being applied to you, or at least the negative influences. If someone's going to influence you to go to work and take care of your family and things like that, if that's me, get it done, go do a good thing and then find times and schedule good fun times. But yeah, take care of your physical health, because sometimes I see that blending over. It's easy to kind of think that just our doom scrolling doesn't have an effect on you, but it does have an effect on me. And I find that exercise, just it is such a key aspect. Also, the food you put in, and I've shared that I've been losing weight and it's been going really great. And I'm on a whole 3-year journey and yada, yada, yada. This video is long enough as it is. I do apologize. Just a lot to talk about, a lot that I'm excited about. Anyway, if you guys want to weigh in on any of these topics that we talked about in today's video, sound off in the comments below. You're freaking amazing. I appreciate each and every one of you for being here. And hopefully I will see you in my next video. But until then, take care.